Okay, so we'll begin today where we left off yesterday, which is the time of the Beis Hamikdash. We began to explain it yesterday, and then we'll go on to the attic of the Beis Hamikdash. The time is a complicated aspect, so let's go again to the concepts of what it was. When you go into the Heichal of the Beis Hamikdash, as you can see over here, you're going in to the Ulam, you're walking in through this huge entrance area, which the opening the door is 40 amas high by 20 amas wide. It's the entire size of the whole interior of the Beis Hamikdash. So now the Ulam is called, up until the entire 20 amma area is called Ulam. Past there's no wall, but that's not the Ulam because the entrance area is where you're walking in, not on the sides of it. On the sides of the Ulam, besides for the two tables that you had, you have the two pishpeshin, the two small doors that lead into the sides of the Heichal, and they're also a way to go into the Heichal. And as we learn, the one on the north side is the one that's open. The one on the south side was always closed because the Navi saw Hashem's glory coming in through there. And again, even though in the second Beis Hamikdash that wasn't something which was noticeable, in the third Beis Hamikdash it will, and therefore because in the third Beis Hamikdash it was always closed, that's the way it was also in the second Beis Hamikdash. Where did these lead to, these pishpeshin? So let's see the concept of the time. When Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis Hamikdash, he built the interior of the Heichal is 20 amas wide. The wall of the Heichal is 6 amas wide. So that's 32 amas. But around them he built a structure, which is called the structure of the time. The structure of the time went all the way around the Heichal, all the way around past the wall. This is the 6 amma wall of the Heichal. So again, from here to here is 32 amas. All around here you have the structure of the time. The time are 6 amas wide. The length of the time, it doesn't say. According to Rashi, in the third Beis Hamikdash, he says they'll be 11 amas long, regardless of how long they are. This is the idea of the time. These are rooms, 5 rooms on the north, 5 rooms on the south, and 3 rooms in the west. There are 3 levels of time. On the south, 5 rooms times 3, 15. On the north, south. On the north, 5 rooms times 3, 15. In the back, on the west, there's 3 rooms, but that's only 2 floors of 3 rooms. On the top floor, there's only 2 rooms. That is 38 time. In the third Beis Hamikdash, in the back, there'll be only 1 room. So that's 3, so that's 33 time. So again, this building of time is around the Heichal. The outer wall of the time is a 5 amma wall all around. The walls in between the time are also 5 amma walls. So if you measure the entire area of the time with the Heichal, here is 20, 32 with the 6 on both sides. That's 44. And then you have the 5 amas on either side. That's another 10. That's 54. So what did we miss? Again, we have the 20 over here. The 6 and 6 is 32. The 6 amma width, that's 12. That's 64. That's a 44. And then the 5 amas on either side, that's 54. Now, we have the mesiba on this side, which is the ramp with which you go up to the attic. And on this side is the area where they collected water for the mikveh. These are only 3 amas wide, each one of them. So if we were holding by 54, that's another 6, that's 60. And then their wall on either side is 5, that's 70. So the width of this entire Heichal is 70 ames, with the width with the time all around them. The length of the Heichal is up until the Ulam, straight up till here. The Ulam is, you have the 5 amma wall in the back, and 6 is 11, another 6 is 17. All along over here, you have 61 because there's the 1 amma in between the Kodesh and Kodesh HaKodashim. That's 78. And then you have another 6 ammas, the outer wall. That's 84. And then you have the Ulam, which is 11 ammas plus 5, which is 16. So that's altogether 100. So up until the Ulam, you had 84. Now, this is the size, the width and the length of the Heichal. This, according to the opinions, this is why we say that the Heichal is wide on the front and it's narrow on the back. Wide on the front and narrow on the back, like a lion. A lion is wider on the front than on the back. And the wide on the front means 100 amas on the front, because the Ulam Hall had the place where they stored the knives, 15 amas on each side. 10 was the interior, 5 was the walls. That's an extra 30 amas. So it's 100 amas over here, but it's only 70 amas in the back, like a lion. We'll get back in a second to the time. Let's just look at the Rambam's picture of the Beis HaMikdash is a square, because according to the Rambam, the Beis HaChalifos, these extra 15 amma go all the way along from east to west. How then does it get narrower on the back? Because it went a little bit narrower. That's the way the building was built. Now, especially according to the Rambam, it doesn't happen to be like a lion. We made a point to make it like a lion because we made a point in the way the building is built is that it gets a little narrower on the back, just a little bit. What's the point of that concept? So according to Chassidus, this is a very interesting idea. The idea of a lion is, Hashem is referred to as a lion because lion shows on the sphere of Keser, which is the essence of godliness that's above the spiritual worlds, above the spheres, above the attributes of godliness that come into the world. How does one reach that level? Through being the feeling of yearning, through the feeling of confined. That's the idea of the roar of the lion. The roar of a lion comes from a lack, from feeling being missing. And that's why the Beis HaMikdash, the Heichal, is built in such a way where in the back it's narrower to show that the way that you can reach the actual width, the actual, it's called in Chassidus, the Merchav Ha'atzmi, the essential broadening of the essence of godliness is through feeling a meitzah, through feeling the pinch, through feeling a lack and a yearning. That's how one gets there. So that's the concept of the building of the Heichal. But let's get back to the actual time that we started with. So according to Rashi, if we look at the time, there's 3 rows of time. Now, essentially, according to Rashi, it seems like they started here. They started at floor level of the Heichal, which means the base of the Heichal, which was a 6 amma base, which is what the steps went over. There was no need for time there because that's a solid block. So with 3 levels over here of time, and their rooms, which all have openings from one to the other. Each room you can go through. It's basically like going through a hallway all the way around the Heichal. The Mesiba had a circular stairway, but there was also a place where you could walk all along over here. On top, on the next level of the Mesiba was on top of the roofs of the 3 floors of time. Another thing is that according to Rashi, in the 3rd Beis HaMikdash, it will be like the 1st Beis HaMikdash, where the time were 5 amas high each. So even if we'll include space for a ceiling, that would be probably, let's say, even put it from 15, add 20 amas, but it's still halfway the height. In the 1st Beis HaMikdash, it was already 2/3 of the way. It was already 3/4 of the way. It was already 2/3 of the way because it was 30 amas high. So now when you need to climb up to the attic, it's not such a high ladder of 10 amas. If in the second Beis Hamikdash you're on a roof which is 20 ames high, you need to climb up 20 ames. That's quite a lot of climbing to do on the ladder. However, according to the Rambam, apparently the time reached a lot higher. But let's go to the opinion of the Rambam now of how the time looked. So this is Rashi, just to give us the idea. This is the time all around. We go up to the attic, which we'll talk about. We have a moment soon about the attic of the Beis Hamikdash. Let's look at the time according to the opinion of the Rambam. The Rambam says that every hollow in a wall is called a ta. This wall all around was hollow. This was a hollow wall, and therefore it's a 6 amma wall, which is hollow. That's called a ta. Did anybody walk there? Probably not. Were you able to get into it? Yes. Probably only for extreme emergency needs, for fixing or whatever. It wasn't a walkway. But this is ta number 1. This is ta number 2. This is a walkway. This is a walkway all the way around the Heichal. This is a 6 amma walkway, an empty space. Here, if people needed for whatever reason to walk around the Heichal, they walked around this way. The wall of this ta is a 5 amma wall. It's also called a ta because it's also hollow. Once again, not necessarily did anybody walk in it unless there was a total need. There was probably a opening, as the Mishnah describes, from one ta to the other if you needed to get in. We can imagine that there was probably windows here also. That's maybe one of the reasons it was hollow. This way the light was able to get in because there was probably windows from one ta to the other. Now, from here, you get to the Mesiba. The Mesiba is either a ramp that goes up. Let's take that opinion because that's the simplest one. This is level 2 of the Mesiba. Now, it's an important thing to remember. According to the Rambam, the time don't start at floor level. Because the time are hollows in the walls of the Heichal, they actually start below floor level. They start at ground level, which is 6 ames. So, the level 1 of time is something which was probably never used unless there's a need to go in, or possibly as a side entrance where you can go, instead of going through the steps of the Heichal, you can go through the ta, and then there was a way to climb up. There was a staircase that took you up to the next level of time. But this was only 6 ames. So when we talk about in the Heichal, we're already in level 2 of the time. Here would be the pishpesh. Here would be the door that opens up. When you go in through this door and you want to go to the Heichal, you're not going to walk in the hollow of the wall because that's not made for walking, even though you can, but that's not the place where you walk. You turn right and you walk in the ta. You walk in the ta until you get to the walkway, to the opening, to the Heichal, and then you go around and open the gates. On the Mesiba, you would go up the ramp here, and the ramp, we can imagine that it probably went up 15 or 20 ames, so it took you almost till the actual aliyah. It was a ramp that went up. Once you got to the top, you got to the west side, whatever size it was. It doesn't say what size it was, but we're just imagining that it took you pretty high. So there's no reason why you have to climb on the ladder so much. Now you go into the second level of the Mesiba, which is the 3rd level, actually. It's the highest level. And it's again a ramp. This isn't called Mesiba on this side by the Mishnah, but this is the ramp which continues to take you till the roof of the time. Once you get to the southwest corner, you're on the roof of the time. You didn't go up here to the aliyah, to the attic, because then you would be directly above Kodesh HaKodashim. So you walk along on the roof, you walk straight until you get to the southeast corner, and it's over there that there is the ladder that you can climb up into the attic. So again, according to the Rambam, just to get the picture, there's these 3 levels of time, and here you would have, let's say, the attic, or perhaps a little higher than that, whatever the case was. This is where you're getting to the attic of the Kodesh HaKodashim. Through the time themselves, the time take you to this attic. Now, what was the attic of Kodesh HaKodashim? One more thing which is important. We spoke about it yesterday, but I don't know if we emphasized the concept. According to the Rambam, the walls of the Heichal had what you call they had what you call Yitzim. Yitzim were sort of like balconies sticking out. There were 3 levels of them, and their purpose was to keep people away from the wall of the Heichal. Now, the northern and southern walls, these Yitzim were actually inside the Beis HaChalifos. The Beis HaChalifos is the area where you hid the knives, because apparently people would walk there. From the Ulam is where the entrance went to the Beis HaChalifos. From here, you had entrances to all the time, as well as to the Mesiba and to the Beis HaChalifos from this side of the Ulam. In there, you had this place to keep you away from the Heichal wall. But in addition to that, the walls of the Ulam were built in a way that every second row protruded 3 amas. Now, the way it was done was also that it was done with different colors of marble, green marble, blue marble, and perhaps white marble, which caused that when the sun shone on it and you had the row protruding and the row in, out, with the different colors of marble, when the rays of the sun hit it, it looked like actual waves of the sea, waves of the ocean. They were going back and forth, which was a beautiful sight. And therefore, Chacham said that's more beautiful than covering it with gold. When King Hurdas wanted to cover it with gold, they said, don't, just leave it the way it is, because this is much more beautiful. Perhaps also the concept of the waves of the ocean is not just in beauty, but this is the whole idea of the ulam, the time. It's back and forth, the yearning for Hashem, Ratsu, which is the yearning which brings you back into be able to connect to Hashem in the proper way. What's the purpose of the attic of the Beis HaMikdash? The attic is up here on top of the Heichel. The simple reason for the attic is in order to fix things. Meaning, if you needed to go down into the Kodesh HaKodashim, which is all the way here in the west, there was a hole which they would lower workers in boxes, but the box was facing the wall so that they couldn't see the interior of the Kodesh HaKodashim. That's the simple idea. But we are told that the attic has a few extra ideas, especially according to Kabbalah. There is a story during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash. There was a king whose name was Yoash. He was a young child. His mother, Atalia, was the queen then. She knew that he would take over the kingship from her, and therefore she wanted to kill him. He was hidden by the Kohen Gadol in the attic. According to many opinions, it was in the Kodesh HaKodashim itself, but according to Kabbalah, it was actually in the attic of the Kodesh HaKodashim. And therefore, this is called the Cheder Hamita, is the bedroom. This was his bedroom for 7 years. He remained hidden over there. The idea of this is the concept of it's called Cheder Hamita for a reason, because it's the place which unites Hashem and the Jewish people. In fact, they would only go in there once in 7 years. In the Kodesh Kodashim, the Kohen Gadol went every year on Yom Kippur. The attic was only entered once every 7 years in order to see if there's something that needs to be fixed. It's not just something that happens to be, but according to Kabbalah and Chassidus, it's because the Kedusha of the attic is even holier than the actual Kodesh HaKodashim. The Kedusha of the attic is one that's beyond and above such, just like it's in the attic, it's above the world. It's the concept that shows and relates how in order to save a Jewish life, the King Yoash, in order to save a person, in order to save a life, it goes and it transcends even the holiness of the Kodesh HaKodashim. That actually expresses the greatness of the Kodesh HaKodashim and the greatness of the attic, where it reveals the essential connection between Hashem and every Jew in a way that saving a life is holier and greater and goes beyond, it overrides anything else. So that's the concept of this attic, and it's interesting that you reach the attic, especially according to the Rambam, where the Mesiba itself was a ta. Even according to Rashi, you went on the rooftops of the time which are the empty spaces. They are the ones that enable a person to reach the attic, the highest point, not just physically, but spiritually of the Beis HaMikdash, which brings out another point that the Rebbe explains, that it's on the roof of the Beis HaMikdash that they had a makkah, that they had a fence. And in fact, that fence is definitely part of the height of the building, the 100 amas. The fence is considered part of it. There's a machlokes if the kale oirev, if the spikes that chased away the birds, are they considered part of the count of the 100 Amas? The fence, everyone agrees, it's part of the Beis HaMikdash. The idea of a fence is when you're in the highest place. And even in the Beis HaMikdash itself, even in your spiritual way of serving Hashem, in the highest place, one needs a fence to fence themselves in, not to feel ego and haughtiness and pride, because as a result of that pride, that can cause someone or the person himself to fall. And that's not just anywhere, but even in the Beis HaMikdash itself. And in fact, the fence is on the highest part of the Beis HaMikdash, including the Kodesh HaKadoshim, because that fencing that a person has to limit themselves and limit their intellect and limit their pride and ego in order not to fall is something which doesn't only apply in regular things, but it applies specifically in the highest type of avodah that a person may do. Okay, it should be a good Chodesh. Remember that today, Erev Rosh Chodesh, the Rebbe says everyone should increase in Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. And in Tzedakah, a person should give the worst of 2 or 3 meals to Tzedakah instead of the idea of fasting, which would usually be on Erev Rosh Chodesh. A good Chodesh.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.